The creation of Novo Nordisk is a story of 6 people, their ideas, their passions, and their conflicts. Nobel laureate August Kohl, his wife, doctor and scientist Maria Kohl, diabetes researcher and doctor H.C. Herdorn, pharmacist and manufacturer August Kongsted, mechanical engineer Harold Peterson, and his brother, pharmacist Thorvald Peterson. But it all starts with a love story, when young and promising doctor of physiology August Kohl met medical student Maria Jonsson. 1920 was a milestone. August Kohl won the Nobel Prize in Medicine, and Maria started showing symptoms of diabetes, a death sentence back then. At the same time, insulin had been discovered at the University of Toronto.
It was actually Marie who heard about it on the trip to North America and convinced her husband August that he should go to Toronto, and ultimately ended up with the license to produce insulin in Scandinavia.
The task at hand was to develop a safe and clean production of insulin for treatment of diabetes in Scandinavia. But they needed help. Maria reached out to her own doctor, H.C. Herdorn.
An expert within diabetes, and he had his own clinic in Copenhagen. Both Marie and August were convinced that they would need Dr. Herdorn in producing insulin.
They acquired pancreatic glands from pigs and fish and set up a laboratory in Herdorn's basement.
You have to realize that pancreas is the gland, the organ that makes insulin. This is a very sensitive organ because you have lots of enzymes inside it. So you have to know how to handle the organ, the gland. You have to know how to do the first kind of mincing part of it, and then how to extract the insulin from the rest.
They now had a treatment that worked, but they needed to produce it in large quantities. They called their new company Nordisk Insulinlaboratorium, and its mission was to make insulin available to patients.
When August was at University of Toronto, it became clear that they were willing to give him the license more or less for free. The only prerequisite was that this should never be a matter of generating profits. And he did that by creating, together with his co-founders, the foundation. Today, the Novo Nordisk Foundation controls 78% of the votes in the company.
Altruism and science aside, Nordisk was a business with customers, production facilities, and employees. Among them, Harold Peterson, August Kohl's longtime lab engineer, and his brother, Thorvald.
Thorvald came with a lot of ideas, but Herdorn couldn't accept that, and it came to a conflict between these two. And only after half a year of employment, Dr. Herdorn told Thorvald that he couldn't continue in the company. He was laid off.
And Harold said, when my brother isn't good enough for you, I'm not good enough for you. And August Kohl then asked Harold, what are you going to do? And Harold said, we're going to make insulin.
The two brothers formed a new company called Novo Therapeutisk Laboratorium. They had to prove themselves against Nordisk with Herdorn at the helm, after August had returned to his physiology research.
Nordisk was the first Danish company to manufacture and market insulin. That gave them an incredible advantage in hospitals, with doctors, with academia. And that meant that when Harald and Thorvald brought their insulins to market, they had to look elsewhere.
They early on saw the need for literally reaching out to other countries and honestly making profits so that they could grow the company, maybe even create new products over time.
The different skill sets of Harold and Thorvald gave them a very innovative approach.
They were a unique team.
In 1925, Thorvald, as the first in the world, could make liquid insulin. But how do you deliver liquid insulin? Well, Harald knew how to deliver liquid insulin by creating a Novo syringe, where he could fill the ready-to-use liquid insulin in there, and it was ready to be injected.
It meant that patients were able to make certain that they got the same dose. The ability to live correctly with your insulin regimen was upheld.
But maybe Novo's most important asset was the company culture instilled by Harold and Torvald.
And they had a very special spirit. They really, truly cared for the employees.
They felt that they were like a family. They had a strong responsibility for their colleagues.
And it became a very different company culturally, with shorter power distances and closer relations. I think that we regarded Nordisk Industries as some stuck-up, academic snobs, and they regarded us as street fighters, and lower-class types. Both companies were making fine products, but they didn't treat each other with respect.
In the following decades, Novo grew to be much larger than Nordisk. It was clear that Hedorn was not focused on the business side of insulin.
Hagedorn was happy doing his science, creating constantly more pure insulins and offering them more locally.
He developed new types of insulin and founded Steno Memorial Hospital, which specialized in diabetes care.
He was probably the first in Europe who literally saw the needs of the patients in terms of their daily life, in terms of their diet, and how that should come into the context of the insulin regime that he would offer them.
The rivalry between the two companies continued for more than 60 years.
All innovation in insulin and insulin therapy came from the dogged competition.
The ferocious fighting between the two Danish companies made both of them vulnerable to hostile takeovers from international corporations. The CEO of Novo at the time, Mads Ørlesen, saw an opportunity.
Novo og Nordisk har besluttet at søge et samarbejde, har besluttet at fusionere de to virksomheder.
That the company still acts in a way that's responsible, but it's also welcoming to new thoughts and new issues, that it's caring, but it's also ambitious. But then again, that it has kept this attitude and this resolve of you must work in such a way that you don't only enrich yourself, you also enrich society.